We're talking about something that pertains to every one of us, that almost the average Nigerian is talking about in our country today. The issue of exodus of professionals cannot be overemphasized, most especially in the medical field. According to records, Nigeria lost over 9,000 medical doctors to the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States between the year 2016 and 2018. Over 700 relocated to the United Kingdom in 6 months between the year 2021 and 2022. The World Health Organization, WHO, says at least 2,000 Nigerian doctors emigrate yearly from Nigeria, leaving behind understaffed hospitals and overwhelmed healthcare workers. The statistics presently is one doctor to 8,000 people instead of one doctor to 600 people. However, according to experts in Nigeria, it would take 20 years at the minimum to produce enough health workers needed in Nigeria. This situation is so alarming and scary. We will be talking this morning about the exodus of the medical practitioner in the country. We have someone here via Zoom to discuss this with us. But Dr. Charles Oludare Marindoti is a medical practitioner all the way from the United States of America, there in Texas. Good morning, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, Yinka.
All right. Good to have you on the show. Good to see you again on the other side.
Yes, very, very. I'm excited to be here with you, and I know I will say that you guys can perfect school because who better about Japan than someone that Japan, right?
Okay, yes, Japan. Talking about the issue of the brain drain in the medical sector in the country. I'm sure you know all the statistics that we have. Presently now in the country, what the WHO has said about Nigerian medical practitioners, going outside the country, the fact that presently the statistics here is that we have one doctor to 8,000 patients, whereas the recommended, number of patients should be 600 to one doctor. You have all of the statistics. Now, where do we go from here?
Thank you very much for that question. The statistics doctors, you say doctors because they seem to be the most important thing, but what we forget is the decadence in the healthcare sector in general, because doctors are not the only ones running away. Nurses are running away.
Yeah.
Even the guy that pulls the file when you get to the hospital, they are running away to the UK and everywhere. They are all needed. And what does this cause? It causes a decadence on the health sector in general. Because when we talk about healthcare, healthcare is not just a doctor. That is a person. It's not just it's not the hospital. The hospital is a building. It is a connection or the interconnectedness of doctors, nurses, everything that brings the health that we are talking about. So this thing is very, very alarming. It's something that I'm passionate about. I'm someone from the private sector. My father has a hospital, and he's struggling to find doctors to, stay in the hospital, whereas he raised one who cannot afford to stay in the country because then it's a liability to everybody. So these are something that we need to talk about. But before we talk about the causes and where we go from here and everything, we need to first try to identify the main cause of this. Migration of medical professionals, while it has increased in the recent years due to a lot of factors, it is, it has always existed. But there was something that occurred when I was in part 3, like 2008, about 15 years ago, that most people don't talk about, which was the fact that I think the Medical Council and the government decided to, for quality reasons, reduce the number of students that have been admitted into medical school. So my matric number was 180. I had people who were like 200 something, like 230, a lot of my friends. But now the same school that I went to, you can only train about 100 doctors. And at the time, there was a report that came out in 2008 that predicted this thing. It projected it that it's going to occur in a few years when we start seeing the impact of this reduction in admission. So Nigeria, did an unforced error back then. Yes, I understand that. And the rumor at the time can't prove it, was that they were going to increase salary. So they came up with that negotiation with the government. What we can prove is that it was based on but if you want to improve the budget, you need to put in, not reduce, put more resources in, because you have to think about the growth of your population, because Nigerian population is still growing. We are projected to be what in 2050, So these are some of the things that have caused this shortage in healthcare personnel. And it's not just doctors, they reduce the admission of lab technician, nurses, and all. Everybody now has index the quota that they can train. So that is part of the reason why we have, LUTs and different hospitals shutting down sections of their hospital, because there are no personnel to, deal with it. So, but now when we now talk about that migration, which is the one that everybody is focusing on, we have to think about it from my own perspective. There are two factors. I will call, just for description, the intrinsic factor, which is what occurs within the hospital, and then the extrinsic factor, which is what occurs outside it. Now, within one of the problems that was the doctor-to-doctor relationship.
Okay.
A lot of our senior colleagues were bullied. And I tell you, I medical, and I'll explain to you like Dr. Professor was our teacher. They were teaching us about fibroids, which was something that everybody as a black person was interested in. So Professor K told us that to treat fibroids, you can take out the fibroids, or you can also take out the wound. So now Dr. N, who was my classmate, now asked Professor K, sir, why should we take out the old wound when we can just remove the fibroids? Which is a valid question that anybody who is just learning medicine should have. And but instead of Professor K to answer that question, he got angry. He berated us for the next 30 minutes, and that was the end of the class. We have to set up a begging committee with our class rep to go and meet that man after, just to keep on begging him so that he won't fail us. A colleague of mine was failed in an exam because he failed to go and carry his oga's child in school. Like that was his work. Yes, these are real life experiences. So yes, we have to talk about it. So if you were in our shoes, will you stay in Nigeria?
Especially when you have the opportunity.
Especially when people need you over there. I'll give you another of the intrinsic factors that I'm talking about. The duration of training. A lot of my colleagues that are working outside the country right now, they took them a lot of years, maybe like 6 years after medical school, before they could even get in. But some of them had finished residency about 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Whereas the ones that got into residency immediately in Nigeria, they are still, I think it's only one of my colleagues that I know that has finished residency, just one. So by the time you look at it, this is another complicated factor, right? Your colleagues who you know that when you had already started residency, when they just traveled and it took them time to get into the system, they already finished and now they are living a good life, and you are still suffering and toiling in residency. And the federal government is paying for all of this, but the efficiency is not there. I feel like, the government also has a role in playing in asking the trainers, why are you making me pay for 5 years for what the UK is paying 3 years to do? Those are some of the things that can be questions that we can ask.
Okay, let me hold your thoughts. Let me hold your thoughts a bit there. Okay. With what you have been explaining so far, that it's the reasons for all of this goes beyond what the layman sees outside. That it is deep rooted. If I can understand you clearly now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are very right.
Now that you are bringing it to the limelight, that these things most often than not is deep rooted, and it's a question of orientation and all of that. What do you think as medical students, one, as the government, as Nigerians as a whole can do to salvage this? Because I tell you, if it happened 15 years ago, it must have deteriorated even now.
Yes, you're very right. It's aggravating because why? We are reducing the number of people that we train, and we are increasing in population, right? So there are so many things that when we want to talk solution, there are so many things that the government can do, but the result is going to be, very slow. It's going to take a long time. I'll give you an example. If I should live where I am right now and say I want to come and be not doctor in Nigeria, a minister, and I'm living just on my minister salary, they'll chase me out of my house, they'll take my car, I will lose everything. Do you understand? So it's not easy for you to, for the Nigerians who are working outside to just repatriate themselves back home. I know the president had asked the Nigerian doctors to come back home, but it is not that easy. And I would also want to say that, I saw the president also spoke about it in Imo State, where he said that Nigerian doctors, don't worry about Japan, we are going to train them. I think that is inconsistency in message, because I feel like if you want to train doctors, it takes 8 years at least before he even gets into residency. And by the time he's just getting into residency, he does not know so much. So, and that 8 years.
No, but they say right? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. There must be a starting point. Somebody must start it. Somebody must begin the change. So, do you not think that it's worthy of is worth starting? Let me put it that way.
Yes, it's worth starting, but I feel like the right steps need to be taken. And we before we even talk about security, doctors are the prime target for kidnapping and all of that. Not talk of someone who is coming back home. So, and the economy to the value of the currency. Like when I was in medical school, when I was a first year doctor, my salary was $150K, which was worth about $1,000. If you are for you to earn $1,000 now in Nigeria, you have to be earning over 1 million. And I don't even think the CMDs are earning 1 million. So those are complicating factors that you have to talk about. But I feel like there is a bridge that can be achieved leveraging on technology.
Tell us
you
about
might not know this. Yes. Hello?
I said tell us about it.
Yes, exactly. So you might not know this, right? But there are a lot of doctors who are consultants, who are finished residency, that are driving Uber right now in the United States. The Nigerian government can create a system whereby we leverage on technology and use telemedicine to bring that services, even though it's not the same, but at least those same doctors, maybe the ones that are practicing, can use their spare time to still render knowledge to people in the remote areas and even in our general hospitals, even the ones in Lagos, whereby you go in there, a lot of you are called a doctor friend to give you a prescription and you were able to get better, right?
Yes.
In order to leverage and shift that workload, we can use technology, do more telemedicine, try to appeal to Nigerian doctors that are abroad to please take up a shift. We will pay you. We know it's not enough. We know you are just doing it as a social responsibility because you want to pay back to your country, and publicize this thing for years until we start getting people to subscribe to it. But that would be a short stopgap bridge. We still have to train people. We still have to find a way to bring people back.
How can we now prove the efficiency of that?
Yes, we can make it very efficient.
And when I say efficiency, I can also talk about the efficacy.
Yes, you are very right, because some people will need a doctor to touch them, do admit and all of those things. Some people will not need it. So, but what you are doing is essentially taking some of the workload, like the clinic workload, off of the other doctors who are still there. There's also a need for an improved welfare package. There's a need for an improved working environment, the one that is good for your mental health, that does not make you frustrated all the time. And these are things that the government can leverage while we are training people. Definitely, we have to, and I was very happy when I had said this on a couple of interviews, even during the doctor strike in August. And I was very happy when I saw that the Minister of Health started talking about it too during the healthcare renewal program that they did. He was talking about going back to train more people because we had already caused an unforced error by reducing the number of people we were training. Like my professor would say that we're making half-baked doctors. And my own question, I didn't ask them definitely, but my own question was that if the cake is half-baked, do you blame the cake or you blame the baker or the oven. So we need to work on the hospitals, the capacity for them to train, let them train people. Maybe some people can cross into medicine and all those things, and also nursing. Nurses you can train during a short period of time. We can also have a program like they have in the United States that is called a nurse practitioner program, whereby nurses who have a BSc can take like another 2-year course and be able to treat malaria, type basic infection, throat infection, and children infection and all. And this will supplement the the workforce that is needed. It is not going to be only doctors, because it takes a longer period to train doctors. And then when we now train our doctors, we can now remove them from the malaria, typhoid that everybody is treating business and give them specialist training, so that in that way, because a lot of healthcare, a lot of advances have gone on in healthcare that we can talk about from now to eons. You don't know, you might not know, but a lot of people do, that you can use your phone to scan your blood sugar.
Yes, I heard about that.
That's exactly, a lot of Nigerians might not know this. And these are things, if you want to use it, in the cost of it alone, in a place like this place, it's going to be about maybe 500,000 naira in a month. How many people can spend 500,000 naira to check their blood glucose? Economy also has to get better for things to start to work. Nigerian youth need to get jobs so that they can contribute to health insurance, so that we can fund all hospitals. Another thing that I think I should also talk about is the funding of hospitals, because I think the federal government has been funding it, has been doing it all wrong. I don't believe the federal government has a business owning hospitals. They can be funding hospitals, and federal government should not restrict their funding to just government hospitals, because the government hospitals, like you and I know, they are the most inefficient.
So you think you think we do not need the likes of the federal medical centers?
Not like we don't need it. We don't need the funding structure whereby it is the federal government that determines who is the CMD. They are the ones that determines who is being employed. Okay. Do you understand? The federal government can pull itself behind and talk about.
So you're talking about autonomy.
Ebola, Lassa fever. Yes, and then let those hospitals have a management system that is efficient, that can know the number of times this professor came to work, how many patients he is seeing, and make decisions at that local level. While the federal government maintains or even improves the funding that goes to the hospital, but it's not just giving them funding without, expecting performance. Okay.
So
do you understand what I'm trying to say?
In a nutshell, you're saying that this brain drain syndrome is irreversible.
This brain drain syndrome is irreversible because, like the Yoruba people will say, right? If you don't have money, you can't spend it on diarrhea. That is the truth. So they say health is wealth, but what they don't tell us is that wealth brings health. If you look at the history of mankind, with improving economy, there is improving life expectancy. That is because you need to spend money to buy drugs. Even the latest technologies, you need to spend money to bring them in. So the economy has to improve. If it does not improve, there will always be brain drain. That is why it was very wrong for us to have said we wanted to prioritize quality and then we reduce the quantity, because what that has left us with is a shortage that has been predicted 15 years ago that is now going to last for maybe another 15 years. Like you said, WHO said 20 years, right? Yes. Because even if we started training and explode it, it takes time to train one doctor.
Okay, so now, let me quickly, because I like to take you to another terrain. But before I take you to another terrain, let me quickly ask you this personal question. You are there in the United States. What would you see in Nigeria that would make you say, "Wow, I'm packing my things, I'm coming to Nigeria"?
I see everything in Nigeria that makes me want to come back. Like, first off, I want to be with my parents. I want to be able to drive a few hours to go and see them. I want to have my friends around, But it is like I said, it is currently economically impossible for me to uproot myself right now from where I am and come to Nigeria, because
so what could be that thing you see in the country that would make you just make that sharp decision? Wow, Nigeria is worth it. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Nigeria is worth it. I'm leaving tomorrow. If I see an opportunity to contribute, definitely I'll take that risk. Okay. I will try to find a way to come to, but that is me. Only me cannot do it. I can't by myself come and be in 20 places at the same time. We need a lot of Nigerian doctors that have gone away to want to come back home. So that's why I believe this telemedicine thing might be a bridge. Like we have Nigerian doctors who have special surgical skills, right? So if they have a telemedicine avenue, they can be seeing patients and scheduling surgeries, and then traveling back home to do those surgeries, and they will go back. Do you understand? And after a while, when they build an economic base, you are living in Lagos right now. You might be from Ogun State or Akure. The only reason why you are living in Lagos is because your money is in Lagos. So if you can create that environment whereby their money, the money of the doctors will be in Nigeria, over time, all Nigerians that have said they want to come back. The only reason why they don't want to come back is kidnapping, economy, and all these other things that we are talking about. So all these things, we need to fix it. It will take a long time, but we have to have consistency in message. We need to talk about something like, we want you back, make it persistent. Not that we are going to kill on that one, we don't need you anymore. And I believe over time, the patriotism in the Nigerians will bring them up. I mean, Nigerian doctors have money here that they can go and build hospitals in Nigeria, but they must know that the people will be able to afford to go to those hospitals. Otherwise, it's a useless endeavor.
Okay, thank you very much. Honestly, I still want to go on and on and on with this. Maybe I'll still come back to it. But let me just go out of this Japa syndrome a little bit. There's talking about organ harvesting. It's a trade that, quote and unquote, it's popular in the country. People do it. People might not have been caught, but we have seen instances of this illegal and activity going on. Now, give us the medical perspectives to the issue of organ harvesting and trafficking.
Yes, it is a crime all over the world, although it is definitely condoned or looked away at in some environments. And I'll talk about a popular case that everybody knows, which is the case of Ekweremadu, right? And there was something that was so disheartening to me, was the comments of Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians spoke about it from the point of view of, if this man had fixed hospitals in his country, he would have had people lining up to, give out kidneys and all. Organ donation is a thing that should occur by will. Idris Abdulkarim said his own wife gave him a kidney, right?
Yes.
People should be able to do it without financial inducement, because it is the financial inducement that creates crime, because someone might now want to kidnap someone to harvest their organ and make the money from it. So exactly, like if you are filling your driver's license form here, they will ask you, do you want to be an organ donor? If you think yes, God forbid, if you have an accident, immediately they start harvesting your organ when they know you can't survive it. So our current economic state will make it difficult, because people will always want to offer you money in exchange for your organ. So that is why I believe the federal government and the whole system should frown at that notion of giving people money in exchange for their organ, because a lot of times people are not even enlightened. I had seen a situation whereby a woman was given money to be a surrogate, whereas she didn't know what she was getting into, and she was given maybe like less than 800,000 or something. That is a form of organ use that exploited the ignorance of the person who is being used. So these are things that there should be strict legal frameworks that each doctor should ensure, and the ethics should supersede in the administration of this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So what are the government initiatives that should be in place to combat the illicit trade of organ trafficking and to rescue the victims?
The first thing is enlightenment, because a lot of the people whose organs are being trafficked are also not enlightened. Then accountability is very essential. Who are the doctors carrying out this procedure without verifying? They should lose their licenses and go to jail. And no, it is difficult to do in the Nigerian environment with our current security challenges, right? But it should be a situation of, when you get caught, you face the music. There is no way around. Like the situation, like I mentioned with Senator Ekweremadu, if it had occurred in Nigeria, there would have been no consequences for it. And that's when you don't punish crime, you are encouraging it. There are no two ways to it. There's no such thing as forgiveness. So the Nigerian government should ensure that yes, while it might be difficult to catch, when it is being caught, there is maximum penalty. I don't mean maximum penalty as in form of a death sentence. I mean maximum penalty as in form of what is allowed by the ambit of the law. And definitely, if someone has killed someone in the process of organ harvesting, they should face commensurate, punishment for their crimes. It is until we bring accountability that you'll be able to deter these things.
All right, thank you so much. You answered my next question. I wanted to ask you that since the doctors are culprits in all of this, what are your take? But you have answered the question while you were talking. Let me take you back quickly before I let you go. I know that it's not daybreak there in the U.S. All right, so I need to let you go. But before I let you go, you know about the NHS in Nigeria. You talked about the affordability of medical care in the country. What do you think the government can do better?
Yeah, a lot of things that they can do better. They have to fix the economy. I keep on going back to this economy because if it is the youth that have jobs that are still healthy, that will donate money into the NHIS, that will the adults and the people that are sick could be able to use. So that is very essential. But I'll give an example. You are in Lagos right now. There's this thing that is called Ilera Eku. I went to read the coverage. For cancer, it was 1 million naira at the max. If you are spending 1 million naira, you have not even completely diagnosed that cancer. So, while it is a good thing, it is less than not enough. It is less than not enough. So we need much more funding, and we need the administrators of these funds to be people with utmost integrity and bring probity into the system. Because a lot of times you hear the stories from Nigeria, you wonder, what are these people thinking? Money that is not enough is what you are embezzling. That is probably because you don't know what to do with the money, because the money is not enough to serve the needs of the people. So these are some of the things that I, just in a nutshell, because I know we are running out of time, but I feel like the government can do better in terms of bringing more efficiency. They need to put more funds into it. Health is wealth, but wealth brings health.
Okay, honestly, finally, I always take it back to the fact, because I always believe that to change the country, it starts from individual. It starts from you, it starts from me. And, the collective effort will make Nigeria better. As a people, as the grassroots people, what do you think could be, some sort of community-driven solutions that could help retain our medical professionals in the country? And when I talk about this, let me give you a quick instance. I have a daughter that is a dream to become a medical doctor, right from our primary level. She grew up in the secondary school, and it's there in her head. She wants to go and read medicine in the UK. She wants to go and read medicine in the UK. And I find myself trying to, psych her, telling her that you can also read medicine here and still do well, working on her psyche and all of that. So what do you think are the community-driven solutions that could be done, taken by the average Nigerian? Because we cannot just leave our country to fall and just die like that. Medical system is a very important system in the country. What do you feel? What do you think?
Yes, it goes back to reward system, and I always say this as a joke that at the time I was leaving Nigeria, I'd had nothing to show to an average 15-year-old, tell him to come and be a medical doctor. We live in a country where the most rewarding, occupation is fraud, internet fraud. So how do you now want, and your daughter does not want to be an internet fraudster, she wants to be a doctor, but she can see that the doctors around her are not living good. So there is no, form of incentive in that way to make her want to do it in Nigeria. So it is difficult for you to tell anybody to take anything less than the best they can get. If they can get the best outside, they have to do it. So until we fix that economy, and also, but there's one thing, maybe not about, doctors staying, but in terms of healthcare in general, that Nigerian people as a community can do, which is to seek healthcare promptly. I always say that we fail to see the role we play in the malaise that we face. You have been diagnosed with hypertension. You failed to take your drugs. You failed to go to the hospital. You now came down with stroke. But by the time they took you to that hospital, the hospitals were too busy. They didn't attend to you with 3 hours. And so maybe that person, in third person, did not survive it. You can say that the hospital messed up, right? They failed to attend to her promptly. But as she played a role, or he or she played a role in the cause of that disease, yes. So Nigerians can try to not see hospital as somewhere to run away from, but somewhere to run to. The fact that people die in hospital does not mean that you don't go to the hospital. That is just where people who are about to die go. So you should go there before you get to that critical stage, and then you would have helped a lot in your own little way in reducing the burden on the system by doing that stitch in time that will save 9 and that will save life. A stitch in time saves 9, a pill in time saves life.
Thank you, Dr. Charles Oludare Marindoti. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, we've been talking about the issue of brain drain in the medical sector, and we had Dr. Charles Oludare Marindoti all the way from United States, Texas, talking to us about it. I'm sure every one of us, we've been educated, enlightened. And doctor, I'm sure that next time when we need you, you will oblige. And on the beautiful note, before I leave here, I will come your way, same time, same show on Morning Ride. My name is Yinka Kenny. It is. Bye-bye for now.